Which we already knew that. Peace, peace. Grand Rising. Positive energy to those with positive energy. Ashe to the ancestors, those known and unknown. It's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. And back with these daily energy readings, getting back into the flow. Peace, Shireen. Peace, Marvin. Peace, Ronnie. Peace, Tierra. Peace, Rain. Peace, Spaz. Peace, True One. Peace, Honcho. Uh, what's up, Honcho? What's up, bro? You supposed to have been getting back with me, so I'm waiting for you, bro. If I missed you, um, just hit me up sometime today. Let me know what's going on. Uh, yeah, it is the point of it all. And trust me, I didn't have it like organized in such a way where Monday's video was titled "The Point of No Return," and then I knew that I was going to come right back into the point of it all. Uh, Actually, it wasn't anything like that. It was kind of just based on the study. Once you pass the point of no return, you realize the point of it all, and so that's basically the energy within a nutshell. As we begin to discuss the astrology and discuss, everything that I've kind of been studying, we'll be able to connect those dots. And if we haven't crossed the point of no return, if we're still in that ambiguity or in that space where we're just like, I'm not really sure, or I really hate this person, or I really hate this job, and we haven't crossed that threshold. I hate this city, all of these things that we tend to put up with that we hate and we do nothing about. Uh, it Something within us is pushing us past the point of return where we no longer tolerate that. And to me, based upon planets doing particular retrogrades and planets doing particular movements, we may have felt this energy last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and grasped it and was really moving forward with it and dropped the ball in some way where we kind of just knew, all right, I'm gonna do it like this. And then, something happened, life happens, right? And since life happens and we react to it in a humanistic type of way, we have humanistic type of effects. But the realization that I'm personally coming to is really this spiritual being having a physical experience, which was alluded to in the BET Awards. But this is something that is real. And I think that society as a whole is accepting this idea of a spiritual reality. But where I'm at with it is, see, they would say, oh yeah, we're spiritual beings having a physical reality and then go back home, and do the same shit that they was doing yesterday. But if you go and tell me that I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience, then I owe it to myself to really understand exactly what that means in the most supernatural, in the most esoteric, in the most occult, in the most magical type of ways. You can't just tell me you're a spiritual being having a physical experience. Oh yeah, you feel me? Like, oh yeah, all right, let's talk about it then. Because, like, if you don't sit with that, just that sentence alone for a year, without any type of context, any type of extenuation, you have to really sit with that because you haven't fathomed it. Even if you could imagine it, even if you could think it, even if you could have particular fantasies, this human life teaches us that that's all that there is, and then there's heaven, and then there's hell, and then there's the afterlife, or everybody has particular uh theories on what happens when you transcend, right? But if you're here in the moment, your ass has not transcended yet. So in that space, you have a particular magical grasping of life. Like, you could really take advantage of this energy, take advantage of this spirituality, and really transform your life in the most positive, in the most beautiful of ways, or you can continue to do the same shit you was doing yesterday. It's very it's very much of a, I'm gonna cross this threshold, I'm gonna leave this place, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna be this person, and I'm not gonna be a punk about it. And so Mercury conjunct Mars is really action oriented, and the action orientation is more of magical, more of, I don't know why I want to do this, but I'm gonna do that shit. You know, with the most sound of mind that you could possibly have, but then at a certain point you have to throw it out the window because you might look crazy as shit to somebody. You might look crazy as shit to yourself. You might say to yourself, I don't even know this person anymore. And that's perfectly okay, because you working at a goddamn factory is batshit crazy as you is ever going to get. You working at a call center is about as batshit crazy as ever is going to get. You trying to uh 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 replicate a machine is about the craziest shit that you'll ever experience. So to step away from that just because your conscious can't even exist in that space. Certain people can, certain people can't. But if you look out on the world, this shit looks mad different. Referencing the BET Awards for a second time, like, who was all those people, right? Did you know all of those? Like, what's happening? You know? And so Mercury really has a stake in all of this, as we're all like preparing for Mercury retrograde, you know, even though Mercury is in a shadow period as well. So this conjunction to Mars and this emphasis on action is not one of those things where it's like it might be a day or two. The reality is this is going to be like a month long opportunity. And so Mercury's influence on Mars is more of a hidden, Mercury is the hidden planet. Like, you can't look up in the sky and be like, oh, there goes Mercury right there. You can't see it, but you know it exists. At least you've been told that it exists. Like, I don't know, being the fact that there's pictures of it, if you can look at it through a telescope and things of that nature. But just like Venus, you can see Venus, you can see Mars sometimes, you can see Jupiter, you can see all of these planets, but Mercury at a certain level is the hidden planet. So it being the hidden planet, it still has an emphasis in it being the trickster, it being kind of the negative motivation to get you on a positive swing, right? That's kind of the point. But if you are already on the positive, if you already are hip to meditation, you already are hip to intuition, and you're able to be guided and you're able to make the tough decision and cross that threshold, then Mercury presents itself as beautiful. It is you that are struggling with the moment, and you that are struggling with the past because what you used to be and then what might happen in the future. Mercury says, let me be magical. Let me be savant. Let me inspire you. Let me show you beauty. Let me show you this true world. And this regular city shit that you used to is not really everything that there is to life. If I start talking about fairies, if I start talking about magic, if I start talking about journeys, and if I start talking about going places and doing things and separating and concentrating on your soul and all of these different things, you might not even understand what I'm talking about. And so the reason that I bring that up is to bring this up. Grief, consciousness, spirituality within itself represents a level of grief counseling. The reason I say that is because if you lived a life and everything, every experience, everything that you ever wanted out of life was perfect, you would never give a fuck about this shit. And so, for a lot of people who are very sheltered, very protected, very much told what to do, what not to do, consciousness, spirituality goes in one ear and out the other because they don't factor in the reality of life because they have parents, grandparents, lineages who care about them. So consciousness and spirituality is just crazy talk. But say for instance you never had that. Say for like me at a certain time, you might not have shit. And that separation or that suffering or that pain, sometimes you just might, have a goddamn broke arm and you just want that pain to go away. And so you look for something outside of yourself to relieve that pain. That within a deep essence is consciousness. And in processing this spiritual awakening, because that's what I'm just going to just flat out call it. If it's a spiritual awakening for me, it's a spiritual awakening for everybody because shit, it's I can't speak into no type of existence or no kind of, I can't speak on a life that I know not that I know not of. I only know spiritual awakening presently. So that's the context of which I'm speaking. If you're not experiencing a spiritual awakening, I would argue with that and say you're just not perceiving it. You just don't see it. But oh, this shit is alive. This world, this earth is alive, and you so caught up in your regular mundane life have not accepted it, and you will not go forward in this spiritual life. And this is just the 7 stages of grief. The wrong that was committed was identification with the ego for which it stands. You are just Chauncey. You are not a spiritual being. You don't have no higher self protecting you, guiding you, making sure that you're all right. You're just alone in this world. You're just Chauncey, born in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? In 1989. That's your life. If you admit it to that fact, you are wrong, and that realization makes you grief because you've attached everything that you know to this belief that you are Chauncey, and now you want to talk about a spiritual awakening. It's tough because the 7 steps of grief is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, testing, finally, acceptance, the ability to move forward with the acceptance that you are not just Chauncey. You have to accept that. I have to accept I'm not just Kyrie. I have to. My children, not just Azor, not just Seven, not just John. That is a fucking cup that we put on a limitless abundance that we're trying to protect. Like, why? I don't fucking know. But when you wake up to this new life, everything becomes a little different. And the point of it all is because we've chosen to love, right? As opposed to anything else, right? But that's acceptance. That's kind of what I'm moving into, because previously there was kind of a bargaining, slight depression, slight, okay, now is real, or even anger, or even denial, or even shock. All of these things separating from something that you attach to. If you don't go through these processes, you don't understand these processes, then you probably still in shock. And that's like a lot. Like if you lost somebody, lost a job, lost a house, if you loved something or somebody and you lost it and you haven't processed it and accepted it, then you are in shock, denial, even possibly anger, possibly depression. So spiritual awakening is no game. And so the reason you may feel a certain type of way is one of these seven, one of these spectrums. But the idea is to accept what has happened. You are not just this limited being. On fucking national TV, they let a woman get on stage and say, might have been for the first time ever, you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And they didn't edit it out, they didn't cut it out. It was there for everybody to see. And so, with that being said, if you lived your life as a physical being that may have had a spirit, that was a particular wrong idea, and that presents this level of grief. And that's kind of what we're dealing with universally, whether you know it or not. Dealing with the ancestors, dealing with particular channels, like from my great grandfather and my great grandmother in unison, in tandem, talking to me for I don't know how long, maybe years, right? Maybe years, maybe years, and just now realizing it last week. You know what I'm saying? I look at you. We can make a lot of mistakes in life, and if we are in the ego, then we don't make mistakes. Everybody else makes mistakes. But when we step outside of that objectively, we can say there's a lot of things that I can begin to improve on within myself before I start to make judgment of anybody. And that's acceptance, and that's moving forward. And so there would be no need for readings. There would be no need for anything spiritual if we all found a way to accept life for which it stands and find the best way to move forward. But we are somewhere stuck in shock and anger. And so that's kind of where Mars and Mercury is at, even as Mercury stretches 1 degree from a third degree to a fourth degree. You would have to watch the video from yesterday where I was talking how Mercury and Mars is at the first degree of Cancer and Mercury is at the third degree of Cancer, and that presents a situation. And as Mercury moves forward, it presents another situation. So Mercury is a fast moving planet, so every day we may feel differently. And as it moves into retrograde, we may feel differently. Now, you're not gonna process how you feel because Mercury is the hidden planet. You don't really recognize it. It's not really tangible. But if we were to act out in a way that is spiritually motivated, you'll see Mercury's effects. It's guaranteed. Just something that I just can't really explain. It's just something that I'm just acting out just every day. Like, just being moved to be like, all right, what do you feel like doing now? Or, okay, what is next on the to-do list? As opposed to worried about what somebody else want me to do or how somebody else want me to feel, and just really getting into it myself. And I invite everybody to do that, because that's kind of life, you know. If we're a slave to other people, then we don't really get in touch with ourselves. And so all of this represents the hero's journey. And a hero's journey is really what signifies this Pluto and Sagittarius energy. And in today's terminology, one would be like, oh, I gotta go secure the bag, or I gotta have a lot of money. But then you would look at people with a lot of money and they're like, well, we're living minimalist. And so everything begins to be torn away. And so that's kind of the trick, right? That's kind of the life hack. If you have nothing, right? A lot of millionaires are trying to get to your level. And you would go through this whole journey just to get to a point where you good with what you are. And a lot of this energy might be, you could sell yourself short as well by not tapping into this creative energy and not tapping into the love that's within you. It's very much of like a quantum spiritual magical time where if you choose love, if you choose creativity, if you choose impulse, if you choose connection, if you choose I feel this way, then you win. And I can't imagine the other side of that, because it's so strong for me to be this way. Uh but I guess I don't think that I'm even sensitive to the energy more than the next person. I feel like I'm kind of strong towards the energy, but like I can resist things, but even I can't resist the pull of the spiritual. Like I can't resist it. It's so alluring, it's so seductive that I feel like the whole world is like this now. Like, because it's just so powerful. And if you aren't, right, then you kind of know. Like, then you know, like, you are stuck in fear. And fear isn't necessarily real. You just believe it to be real. And you can't really spread out the way you really need to and touch the stuff that you need to. Like, I like the people that come to my wife, they just come to her. It seems like they just come to her when they come to her, how they need to come to her. She has the conversations that she needs to have. The people that come to me, they come to me when they need to come to me. Not 100 people tearing down my email. Every once in a while, people reach out and I get to deal with my family, get to deal with myself. Everything is in perfect alignment, like it's nice and balanced. And that's kind of what this is teaching me, that I could get caught up with the idea of wanting so much that I don't even appreciate the perfection of balance, or the perfection of having enough, or the perfection of not needing, or the perfection of just being able to do what I want to do, as opposed to I just want to have more. I just want to have a bigger house, have a nicer car, just want to just stunt. And it's just like, well, I'm able to have this connection to spirit, and that don't cost shit. And that's very, and it moves me deeply, right? Moves the household deeply, right? The spiritual connection. How much did it cost? Not a damn thing. What did we have to do? Where do we have to go? Nature outside. Listen, when we go to the park, how much does it cost to get in? Nothing. We just walk straight in. Some gas money. That's interesting, right? When they say the best things in life are free. I could never understand that. What the fuck is you talking about? The best things in life are free. I don't understand that. Now I get it, right? Now I get it. Now I understand. It takes repetition though to just stay out in nature, to keep going, to get your ass bit by mosquitoes, to be hot, to dress wrong, to wear the wrong shoes, to do all of that. Get all of that out the way because it's going to be hell. But now you know how to go, you know how to coordinate, and it is blessed to just be in that space. I don't to not want for more. This is wisdom, and this is kind of Gemini, I guess. The sun being in Gemini presently, really speaking to you not being able to hide from yourself. Can't hide from yourself and your perceptions of yourself, right? So you will have people who will call you weak, or people who will call you powerful, right? But what if they never saw you? What if they couldn't even perceive of you existing? But once they do perceive of you, they say, have an opinion of you. They don't know your life story. They don't know what you overcame. Nothing to that effect. Um, and from there, you think they talking about you. But how could they if they never had a conversation with you or sat down and talked to you? So wisdom teaches you that people can only live within their own perception. They can't exit out of it. So it's your responsibility to master your own perception of self. If you are a God, if you are a ruler, if you are wherever you are, you have to begin to perceive it within yourself. Because the narrative could be these are very turbulent times, and these are very risky times, and the times, and oh, life, right? It's crazy out there. They out here shooting and doing this and that. It's a war zone. And then I could go outside in utter blissful peace at all times. Respect, love, acknowledgement. I don't see it. Not could be. It's not like I'm going to the war zone either. So appreciate you, Brenda. Thank you. But I guess all the Vedic astrologers speak to this particular nakshatra, speak to this particular transit, and they speak to what would be called as war. And one would say there is a war between, like, and then in the same breath, like, we study the Vedic tradition, and then we would start to mention Trump as a bad guy. But I guess it's just me being naive, but I don't have negative information about Donald Trump because I don't perceive it within myself, nor do I perceive it within him. If anything, he's like any other president, was just a puppet for the shadow government. So therefore, it wouldn't necessarily be me having any opinion on any political figure. I'm just having an opinion or epiphany on this spiritual experience within this physical body. And within that space, I love my soul. And through loving my soul, it spreads my love far and wide. And that's not like I put that meme, that fear and love meme on my social media, and this girl commented under it like, do you have any proof for this statement? And I'm just like, my fucking life is proof for this statement. everything that I am is through love. My first blog was love overcomes everything.blogspot.com. Like that was always the goal, love. So the point of it all for me is love. But in studying the astrology and getting to a point where, all right, the sun is in Gemini full force, man, and you could feel this Gemini energy where the soul and me is standing face to face. And I can't hide from myself. I have to look at my weaknesses. I have to look at my strengths. I can't hide from myself. And I can point fingers and blame my wife all day long for all types of shit. I could look at my kids. I could look at my mama. I could look at my daddy. My daddy wasn't never there. Case closed. I didn't have a dad that raised me, y'all. So that's the excuse that I'm gonna use for everything that's fucked up in my life. Like legit, my dad wasn't there. So I could use that excuse. But when you choose not to, you take responsibility and you love yourself, you spread your awareness. You spread your gifts, your talents, your success, everything that you need, everything that you ever want or ever could worry about or fear is found in love for yourself. And that love for yourself, allow it to spread everything. So the vibration astrologically is really representative to a light at the end of the tunnel. If we could dig that, it understand that. And so yesterday we discussed the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups, yesterday, I just wanted to show the card from yesterday. It's kind of like all of these empty cups on the shore, and it's somewhere across the horizon that figure that you must get to, and it's like better there. And so the Nine of Cups, the next card is he's there with his wife and his kid on his shoulder, and they got all of the cups upturned, and the guys in the background, everybody's just happy, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like finally made it. So for the Eight of Cups represents indolence and unhappiness. The Nine of Cups in the Thoth Tarot deck is called happiness, right? So astrologically, in the Nine of Cups was representing just the second decan of Pisces, which the moon is still in. So today, the moon transits into the second decan of Pisces, which represents, okay, it's been a tough little journey, right? So 12 house astrology, Pisces is the last sign. So it's like we almost there. And then we almost almost there, right? Because that's how it get. Once you get to that final leg, it break down too. It's like, okay, I'm almost finished, but now I'm almost finished. And so as we throughout the day, uh, the moon will exit out of Pisces and enter into Aries. And so that light at the end of the tunnel and that good vibration and those good feelings are going to start to permeate and kind of get back on track. And okay, after a tough situation, now we on like the positive swing. So we could take this energy and really move forward. So it doesn't have to be excruciating. It don't have to be painful. It don't have to be tough. We could just really understand that the worst is behind us and move forward. Yeah. So, but basically, yeah, that's basically it. That was only 30 minutes. That's cool. Didn't want to feel like I was talking for a long time, but yeah. So Eight of Cups to Nine of Cups, first deacon, the second deacon, really understanding that after a difficult time, positive vibrations are now about to begin. That's kind of the energy reading within a nutshell. But the point of it all, if you center yourself in love, then love will be given back to you. The natural law of retribution. You can't exit outside of that. If you stay primarily focused in love, then things will return that way. If you focus on fear, then comes out that way as well too. With that being said, man, everybody. Hoodmystic.com, hoodmystic@gmail.com. Uh, just gonna keep it consistent, keep it consistent. Uh, since we've talked about Mercury and Mars today, that's Tuesday and Wednesday. So tomorrow I'll talk about the uh, the Neptune and Pluto connection. That's kind of like very much of a big deal that I don't think we can talk about it enough. And then also talk about this upcoming for this, preparing for this Mercury retrograde and everything that it possibly could mean, uh, based upon its influence to Mars, the planet of action, where I think is really having this most profound impact on us if we're able to act. If you're able to act, if you have a particular impulse, learn to follow it and then kind of be like, wow, that's kind of amazing where that just came from. Uh, and just really trust yourself to act on the spirit. Kind of a summary of everything that I kind of talked about. Glad for everybody that joined me. Make sure you reach out to all that shit's hard. Colombian Exchange, of course, Colombian Exchange with an X, or cashshirts.com. That's easier. Same website. Instagram, Cali underscore Ife. Uh, Spirit Box. Ask about the Spirit Box. Like, Cali, hook me up with a Spirit Box. I need one of those in my life. And see what she can do for you. But other than that, I'm signing out, man. It's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. You guys have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow. Peace.